Hello and welcome to the JOKAKAKA Ava cast. I'm Jim.
I'm Sam.
And here we are back in the lab, cleaning our knives,
Back in
getting
the
ready for
cockpit.
a stab.
In the cockpit.
Yep. We are here talking about episodes 9 and 10 of Evangelion, the original series.
Mm-hmm.
As you know the drill, I've seen Ava. I'm an Ava super fan. I'm a big Gaijin otaku. Sam, first time going through.
I just know about from word of mouth, either from Jim or the community in general.
Yeah, I do want to ask you a question, because you made a joke about Shinji jerking off in this episode.
I know he jerked.
Okay, I wanted to.
I know the hospital room.
Okay,
scene. That's famous.
I just wanted to ask if you were aware.
Yeah,
I am
very
thought
aware.
There might be a chance you might not know about.
I'm
that.
very aware of that scene. It's one of the most popular scenes in that show.
Great.
It's hard to not know about that.
It's insane to me that there are people that think that scene should be removed. I think it's an incredibly important scene.
We'll get there.
But yeah, no, that's for later.
We'll talk about that. But yeah, this is like the two episodes we're talking about are 9 and 10, if I remember correctly.
9 and 10. So
we synced up. The Asuka and Shinji sync up, just like me and you podcasting perfectly in sync every time.
Every time, yeah.
just like our discussions about basketball and many other.
What was the last one? There was another funny sports. Whatever. This is
we had our slam dunk. If you jump before at 3-point line or mid court and slam dunk it, did it count?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It would count as 3 points.
It would not, because Space Jam proved it did not.
Space Jam is not the holy text you think it is. All right, we need to talk about this. So
how dare you?
So yeah. These episodes of Ava are both of you dance like you want to win, which is the episode where Shinji and Asuka need to sync up, as you said.
The montage. It's literally the training montage episode.
Mm-hmm.
They literally crammed a Rocky movie into like one episode.
Seconds.
It's literally a Rocky movie.
Kind of. But then also, as we've mentioned, all of these have two titles. The first title is actually Moment and Heart Together. And then the second title of this episode is Both of You Dance Like You Want to Win.
Yeah.
Next episode is called Magma Diver. I'm actually curious, what is the second title for Magma Diver?
Diver Magma.
It's Magma Diver, 2 words, and then title 2 is Magma Diver, 1 word.
Sure.
Magma Diver, as they would say in Japanese.
But we'll talk about the good episode at least then.
So this episode is one of my favorites. I absolutely love episode 9. I think it does a great job. So Asuka has become so important.
She's become the second protagonist.
Asuka jumps into Ava with so much energy, and she thrusts herself into such an important role. I think it's really interesting. Thinking about there's a lot of shonen, long running anime and manga where a new character will come in and take a lot of the spotlight. But it's weird when it's an anime original and it's also only 26 episodes. To think that there's almost a third of the series that Asuka's not in. It's weird. It's almost strange to me because she feels like such an integral part of the show's identity.
Yes. But it's Masato was the other protagonist of that at least the first half. Yes. We watched once Asuka introduced, she's kind of taking that front now, where Misato's she has her little thing going on right now, but it's very one or two parts of the episode. It's her stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I think it's really smart too because we've kind of reached a point with Shinji and oh my god, you just said her name. Misato. Oh my god, I want to say
Mitsuru. You have Persona on the mind.
Mitsuru. Oh my god.
You have Persona on the mind.
Yeah. Shinji and Misato kind of had a conflict and then resolved it, and that's kind of, at least for now, put to rest.
Shinji has managed to have a healthy relationship with Misato. I know.
But now we kind of are injecting Asuka. She's a direct foil to Shinji. She's everything that Shinji isn't, and then in this episode, forcing them to live together. It's very funny, but it's also great because Shinji now has someone who's his age. It's more appropriate for him to have romantic feelings towards this girl than Misato.
Than the drunk MILF, the sexy drunk MILF,
the disaster MILF,
the real best girl. But But yeah, so we basically have her at school where everybody loves her. It's I get very Utna stuff of just like everybody just like falling in love with like one character, like just mobs of people just going down like a random escalator at the school.
Dude, that one shot of like the whole school literally like joining Asuka outside is very funny. And Asuka immediately, everybody loves her. The only people that don't love her are Toji and
the incel group.
The incel group. Because they've seen how she actually is.
And Shinji's like, yeah, I know her way too much. It's whatever. But then she goes up to Ray and she's like, hey, Ray.
Hey, bitch, be my friend.
She's like, if I'm ordered to, I'll be your friend. And she's like, fuck, this girl fucked.
Yeah, Ray does not care. I think the thing that Ray says, she's like, because Ray's reading shit like, you're blocking my light. Like, that's like one of the first things she says to her. Ray just does not give a shit.
It's like, I want the equivalent of like what Thanos cooking to like, what was Ray reading?
Just thinking about that.
Catch her in the Rye.
I was just thinking about the what was Thanos cooking thing. That's one of my favorite.
What was Ray reading? What do you think?
It looked like she's reading a school textbook, honestly. Like there were like diagrams and stuff on the page, if I recall correctly.
The big book of science.
They're also like, we kind of glanced over it already, but there's like a really interesting angle that they used to introduce Asuka in this episode, where I believe Kensuke is taking photos of her and selling them to the other students. And it's like such a thing that I've never like even thought about or noticed. The expression you're giving me seems that you didn't even notice it too.
I think now that you mentioned that, I think I see it. But he was always kind of weird with the camera as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like his thing, I guess. But I just think it's really interesting that like even in the scene where Asuka's being introduced, we're being shown it in like a really different way. Like it's almost like a voyeuristic way of like. It's also, I don't know, it creates a lot of really interesting like candid shots of Asuka.
Also feels
it's really clever. I think
that thing of like becoming a trope of like a 90s early 2000s like harem thing of like, well, the side character taking pictures of like lewds of all the waifus, like and like that's the joke, and like, huh. But now you mention that, yeah, I guess that does make sense.
And it does also go more to his character of being like that kind of otaku, like sort of like lewd, like not lewd, but like, you know what I mean, like that sort of. Let's call them like a character on the borderline.
Ski whoa. He just goes like, whoa, what women.
Yeah.
Very much often, especially when every time they go to Shinji's apartment, like, whoa.
Yeah, that happens a few
women.
times.
Like, whoa.
They're just like, they see Misato and they hear the boing.
They're missing like a nosebleed. And it would fit in like any other anime.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens in this. I can't think of that.
It's just a trope in Japan stuff, I feel.
It is such a stupid trope. I hate that so much.
I do hate that trope.
I remember as a child, like the first time I experienced it, maybe it was like Sailor Moon. I don't know if Dragon Ball ever had it. But like, I remember the first time I saw that as a child, I was so confused.
Yes.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Because in America, we're like, yeah, just boners, because boner jokes are funny here. And like Japan's like, whoa, just like the nose rockets, and just like had it ever been used in like a funny or good or at least a decently funny way?
I don't know.
Remember Punchline where like he like literally the world would end if his nose bled if he got horny. That anime Punchline. I'm
familiar with My Balls, which is a similar manga about a guy who if he orgasms, the world will end. But I've not seen Punchline because
I watched like half of that. Where like the world would end and it kind of just the thing would just reset if I can remember correctly. It's been a long time since I watched Punchline.
I do want to recommend the manga My Balls. It's about a guy who all of like the end of the world, like apocalypse, is like inside of his balls. So if he does have an orgasm, the whole world will end, and Satan sends a sexy demon girl to live with him, and then God sends a sexy angel girl to live with him.
Hijinks ensue.
Which you'd think that God wouldn't want to send a sexy angel.
The least attractive.
Yeah,
but it'd be so funny if he did that. But that's like his fetish is like the least.
Like, oh yeah, of course she's really unattractive.
If anybody knows a good interpretation of the nosebleed like trope,
yeah,
put in the comments. But yeah.
Okay, so moving on with the episode.
Oh yeah.
There was a really interesting scene where Kaji basically is like flirting. He's like hugging and being all close with Ritsuko, and we see he's doing this to agitate Misato.
I think they're both just doing it just to fuck with her.
Yeah, you can tell Ritsuko also. We know Ritsuko is like
they butt heads.
Yeah,
they're like rivals,
exactly.
I guess.
They're not like super close friends.
Okay, they're like two like girls in a clique who hate each other, but they always play around with yeah, fuck you, no, fuck you, but we're best friends though.
Yeah, they're frenemies.
Yeah,
they're the classic frenemy. But then we have whatever. That's just kind of like setting up like the romance between the two characters. Then we actually have Shinji and Asuka go and fight this new angel. So this is the 7th angel.
Okay, I'm glad you got the counter for it.
I did. I'm checking my notes that I wrote.
And it is a part of the Rocky movie where they get their ass beat the first time. And yeah, they basically, the gimmick is they stab it, and then Asuka stabs it, and then it splits into two, and it beats their ass and then launches them like comedically, like legs up in the air.
Yeah, I love like the way that's presented too. Yeah, it cuts away, and then we see photography.
Get your ass beat, man.
So the angel is called Israfel.
You know, it's literally that meme of just like, I'm gonna go kick this angel's ass. I'm gonna send a video later. I'm not gonna send a video. Got my ass beat.
And yeah, everyone. The interesting thing is like, I don't think we see Gendo in this episode. Fuyutsuki though, who's like Gendo's right hand man, he's like, what an embarrassment! Like these kids are embarrassing.
It's
us.
so funny that they will literally just like, okay, we'll just let the angel just. If they like froze the angel with like nukes or whatever.
Well, yeah, they used a few N2 mines on it. I think
it's just so funny. They're like, okay, we'll just leave it there while you guys learn to get synced up. I'm just like, that's hilarious. It literally is like in Shin Godzilla, they kind of do that where they slow down for a bit to kind of have a bigger plan to come up.
Yeah, and as you said, like, so yeah, they're able to give themselves, I think, a week.
Yeah.
The whole idea is like, okay, we've come up with a plan, and then once they have the plan, they're like, all right, Misato forces Asuka to move in with Shinji. They need to practice all the time, be with each other. They have to like sleep in the same room.
They're like I'm not gonna sleep with him, or I'm not gonna stay with her.
Yeah.
And then so hijinks ensue. They try to play this like weird twister, like it seemed if like there was an NES game of like a twister mat, like this would just be the game where you just have a button to appear, like touch it, okay, like because not a twister where they just stay on it, just have to literally like just press it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then everybody comes over.
Ray is even here.
Every side character, Misato literally drags Ray over. Like, yeah, I just brought Ray because I need to prove a point, essentially. Which is like, okay, Ray, go play this game with Shinji, and then they perfectly just do it. And I'm just like, man, they had one one arc together, and they were perfectly in sync. Where like he's been with Asuka, like had more like what's the word? I guess more of a connection, or more with, and not a connection, but I guess more of a relationship with Asuka, like more friendly, I guess. I feel like at first, I guess, until they moved in, because that's when she became, her tsundere really came out.
Yeah, I guess the real reason why Ray isn't the one doing it with Shinji is just because I think Unit 0 is still,
it doesn't have combat. Yeah,
it's still unable to be used, so. And then we see in the next episode, Asuka gets like angry when Ray even says, "Oh, I'll use Unit 2 to pilot or to do the fight."
Asuka gets a little bit jealous when when Ray is able to do it and she's not with Shinji.
Yeah, and because we were talking about this too. I really blame Asuka for not like syncing with Shinji rather than Shinji because
Shinji's trying. And he's like, she's complaining about him, and he's not really at all. And like they're wearing the same outfit essentially, which is really funny.
I really do love the shot when they're wearing like a weird like sort of jazzercise thing, and the shot when like all the friends come over and they're both wearing it, and it looks extremely emasculating for Shinji, and the guys make fun of him for it. It's pretty funny.
Literally only 3 people are seeing him like that, and one just could not give less of a shit if she was asked.
Yep. She probably will forget about it when she leaves.
Yeah, she probably doesn't even remember it now. Like, something did not even like phase her as something wrong. But yeah, then they have the training montage of everything going. There's them singing up perfectly. Like, I'm pretty sure they brush your teeth in sync at one point.
Yeah, I do love that one shot, or that one little montage of them. Like that.
There's the Rocky montage.
The shot in particular of them listening to the music together while their clothes are drying. I love that shot.
Yes.
But it's a nice little like, okay, Asuka's a big personality. Shinji's not really used to this, but they can still work together. Like, it's rough and tumble, but like
if Asuka puts her pride aside,
exactly,
she can accomplish much more. And then we have the scene where he's listening to his 2 songs. I totally made a joke like Wonderwall and Mad World are just 2 songs he listens to. And then we see Asuka just like slide the door open and she just lays in front of Shinji. Like she sleepwalked is what the excuse or what they say later on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she like gets really close and says mommy, and Shinji like thinks about smooching her.
Well, he thinks about it before she says mommy. So
and he's like, ew, mommy issues, and then stops.
So this is kind of this scene, I guess, has become kind of a trope in anime. Like I feel like I've seen this a lot
of like the girl sleeping next to the our protagonist, and then him thinking like,
oh, I should cop a smooch.
I have a smooch or something.
I remember it happening in what's it called? Noragami? Noragami, thank you. It happens in Noragami. I've seen it happen a few other times.
Love Noragami though.
But yeah, it happens here, and it's interesting because this is like Shinji like showing like sexual interest in Asuka.
It goes two ways, either that or like somehow like the boobs are just like in his face. Which her boobs are just like this is one thing I like so her boobs are just 20 times bigger than like any other like things he's wearing or showed in the show. I don't think maybe in Shinji's perspective this is just like how they look to him.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to kind of be like, oh wow. And you do have a moment, too, in this scene, kind of going back to, like, how the scene with Rei, when Shinji grabbed Rei's boob, you're supposed to feel weird about it because Rei's reaction is so creepy.
It's very alien.
In this, you have a scene where Shinji's like, oh, he's really, like, it's an arousing scene, but then you have the moment where she's like, mommy, and then he's like, oh, shit, this is like a child. Like, this is actually a child in front of me. This is weird and creepy and gross.
She got issues, man.
Yeah.
All these women have issues.
Which is really funny, not to jump to the very end of the episode, but he does. She makes an accusation that he did this, and then he admits to it, and then she says, "You creep! I was lying. I didn't know you did that, and you just admitted it." And I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
So it's almost like well, we haven't gotten to that like the best part yet, which is the fight. But it kind of does reset the status quo a bit at the end. Like they get close, and then they sort of have their like, oh, they keep each other at arm's length because they're bickering.
Maybe you shouldn't have been so horny, do some horny sleepwalking. Or...
Horny sleepwalking. Also, I did misremember. This is the episode where Kaji forcefully kisses Misato in the elevator.
Yeah, which
I really do love that scene as well. It's very
she's she's trying.
Creepy.
She's really every time she tried to resist, you see him like forcibly like forcing her arm back to where it was. And
yeah, he also like knocked all the papers out of her hands too. It was very like.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah. He's really, like, Kaji is very manipulative towards Misato. And just, like, the little bit... We know that he's doing shady stuff,
He seems very manipulative to just women in general.
Yeah.
Because Asuka, he's kind of, like... I know he's supposed to be, like, the Misato to her, but, like, he's not nearly as close as she is to Shinji, and, like... He's just kind of creepy just to be hanging out with a child like this.
Yeah, he doesn't...
Or Misato like, comes off as playful and, like, you know, joking at 90% most of the time. And because you see her react to that when they try to, like, bust her balls about it. And she's just like, I'm not going to do anything. It's a fucking kid.
Yeah.
Where like, he's like, I don't know. He looks like a Persona 5. He's like, where he's going to be like a fucking evil villain. Like, his shadow's going to come out. Like, that kind of thing.
We'll see.
And, but yeah. Then they have their instinct fight. They kind of become one with, even though they have a 45-second timer because they're unplugged.
It's 65 seconds.
But at first, I just could have sort of timer like because they had to go launch them up, I guess.
Well, I think what they did intentionally was limit the amount. Like they didn't need the full power because they only had like they planned the mission to be so specific. They only needed the minute. What is it? Minute and 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an oversight. Like that is really assuming that you're gonna do everything correctly, but
you're putting a lot of hope on these kids who have messed up in the past.
I think also part of it is that they're out of Tokyo. Like this one is not set in Tokyo really. They're further out, so maybe they don't have like as easy access to the cables, the power cables.
Yeah, but the fight is like synced up to some music, and like they're like very like I guess ballerina kind of music of just like or like dance. It's like
it's a very like symphonic sort of.
It's very like
it's very triumphant. I love this arrangement.
Kind of like a triumphant music where like it probably if you had to like a dancing show probably would have like a couple like instinct dancing together. I think that's probably the point of it.
Yeah, it is supposed to be like a dance. Like we have a lot of shots that are overlaid between the two of them. The screen splits and we see like both their Evas.
Always love that. They had the two, everything side by side like that, split down the middle.
It's awesome.
But yeah, and they basically they split it. They both beat the shit out of them, then they recombine, and then they literally just do a dive kick into the hill, and it explodes.
I love how far the kick travels. It travels for like miles. And then it explodes.
And they kill it, and then they yell at each other via hologram landline phones.
And sort of, as I said, like kind of resetting the status quo. Like, okay, they had this moment where they got really close, but
Masato's very proud of them.
Yeah,
which is nice to see their mom be happy about them.
But yeah, Asuka's still being a little brat because of course she is.
They got to go back to normal. She can't be happy that they like did it together.
Yeah,
that's the tsundere trope.
Yeah, another thing that I think is kind of weird is like Misato and Ritsuko make a comment about like the awkward position the Evas are in after the fight, and it seems like not a thing that either of them should care about. Like, no, it is literally just like, all right, yeah, well, they killed the bad guy, they fell on each other.
Their balls are showing of the Eva. Like, I don't know if the creatures underneath actually have balls or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know the sexual organs of these Evangelions. That's like we'll find out.
One day.
One day. But,
all right. Well, that was the dancing episode.
The high and now the low.
Yeah. Now one of the worst.
So everybody kind of comes together and say Magma Diver is the worst episode, right?
Yeah, I would say like
it's like the hot spring episode of Gurren Lagann, where everybody kind of agrees this is not a good episode.
I think people would still. It's kind of like the thing where when you compare something you like, you're going to be harsh to one. Even when you're really harsh to it, it still means you really like it. So I think a lot of people they don't hate Magma Diver, but in comparison to other episodes of Eva, it's one of the weaker ones. It has kind of a boring premise, I think. It has like a stupid like science lesson thing. It feels like a Monster of the Week episode of I don't know, like another mecha anime, not Eva.
I mentioned to Jim where like it felt like Anno like he had a James Cameron where he got really into diving for a little bit and just like, I need to make an episode about this, or like where James Cameron I need to make a movie, an Avatar sequel all about water and diving. And it's just like this is very it's a very Iraqi thing where he gets into something and has to make like a fucking Monster of the Week or like arc about it.
I would say this might not be my least favorite episode. I think there might be one more that doesn't get the same sort of ire that this one does.
I'm curious.
This one is just like the title is exactly what it is, so people remember it more. But there's one episode coming up soon that I think might be weaker. Okay. But it's probably more. It has more like implications for like the backstory of characters, so that's probably why it's better. But you know,
you'll rant when you get there.
Oh, I'll rant.
So yeah, so what's it called? So I guess I try to remember the plot points of this episode.
This one begins with there's a big field trip. We're all going to Okinawa, guys.
Except our characters, because you guys have a job to do in case angels attack. So bye, side characters.
Literally,
peace out.
Everyone just pieces out. But Asuka did buy a swimsuit with Kaji.
With her alternate changing size zipper on it.
And they play more with the relationship between the two of them in this part where she's like all flirty with him and he's like, whoa, isn't that like a little too revealing for a fucking 8th grader that swimsuit?
r/anime details. Asuka has a crush on Kanji.
Yeah, but it's just really obvious. And he's very much not reciprocal, which is interesting.
Like I said, if you look at Shinji and Masato's relationship and her and his and Asuka's relationship, it's like
an inverse. Almost.
Yes, very inverse, and you kind of get like understanding of the characters and where they're mentally at.
Yeah,
it's very interesting to see. I like that. It's like poetry; it rhymes. But yeah,
I think the next real scene is when they are
at the swimming pool.
Yeah, the swimming pool.
Swimming pool. Ray's swimming because she can't be bothered interacting with anybody. But Asuka and her weird alternate size zipper swimsuit. Like, what are you studying, Shinji? Whoa, is that what was it called? Like,
thermal expansion.
Thermal expansion. Like, wow, that's really rad. Thermal expansion is this, and this. I hope this doesn't come up later on.
Yeah, it's like
Shinji also stares at her boobs.
Yeah, she has a scene where she puts her hands on her boobs and she's like, I wonder if my boobs would get bigger if they get hot. And then Shinji gets embarrassed, and then she gets mad at him for getting embarrassed, which is confusing.
But he's like, literally, you said that and you made it a point. I am not to blame for this.
Yeah.
You did this.
I don't. Asuka's just really like charming in this scene too, because she's like, well, if I can't go to Okinawa, I'm gonna fucking wear my swimsuit at the pool and snorkel. I think she says she wants to like scuba
glove.
or something.
Yeah, she wanted to scuba dive because I think that's what like Kaji like promised to do with her or something at one point.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly.
Also, we do learn that Asuka is a college graduate.
Yes.
Which is hilarious. And so a detail that I really love is that Asuka does bad in school. And Shinji's like, wait, but aren't you really smart? And she's like, yeah, well, I can't read kanji. Like, I can speak Japanese fluently, but I literally cannot read the Japanese kanji language.
I think we talked about this last episode, too. I think she mentions that, where, like, they actually, like, they brought up her reading ability of Japanese. But, like, I can't really read it very well at, like, one point, but now it gets more understandable about how it fucks her up.
And it's really, that is, like, a very interesting thing. I know people that learn Japanese as a second language, we'll talk about how kanji's
a German going to go and try to understand Japanese.
Yeah, which it's funny too, because in German, it's almost the opposite with kanji. Because German, when they make a new word, they just combine old words to describe it. So, for example, like the word for glove is a hand shoe. In German, it's literally, you would say Handschuh.
It's like the Sesame Street thing where they take one word, another word, and like it's like God, what's a good word? Good, herb, worm, or something like that. Stop sign.
Basically, that's what German's like. But with kanji, I know that kanji has like maybe thousands of different characters that all represent like, or all mean something very different. And something I've heard of people that like English speakers that live in Japan. I think one of the guys, I forget his name, but one of the guys on the Super Bunny Hop podcast, he talked about there's a national, because Japan is set in a place where there's always horrible national disasters or natural disasters, and there's a like kind of how like we have emergency alerts on our phones. They have a similar system, but it's in kanji. So you'd be out in public and then you hear everyone's phone go off, and you open your phone and it's kanji. And for example, the word tsunami or landslide, you might not have ever seen that kanji before, because why would you have? And you can't like spell it out, like it's not exactly how it works. So what he said he would do is, if the alert went off and he couldn't read it, he would look at like the Japanese people around him to see how they reacted. And if they didn't do anything, he's like, okay, we're fine. But if they start like running around, he's like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here.
God forbid, like an Amber Alert in Japan went off, and it'd be like, is this a child I should know? Well, it was reacting to it. Okay, we're good.
But yeah, I think that's it's a great little detail, because like why would Asuka know kanji? Like why would she study that?
She learned how to
speak
speak
it. The language.
Speaking and reading is two different things, especially in Japan.
Yeah. And there's separate written languages too, like hiragana, I believe.
Jim,
different.
We heard her German speaking last episode, so we know how.
Oh, she's excellent. There's a lot of German in this one too. I think she says Guten Morgen in this one, or maybe that was the last one.
Guten Morgen.
She's bad.
Way to trigger Jim.
The bad German is very funny in this.
Yeah, I think we took that last episode, but every time any major German comes in here, I do want to hear the dub version of it.
Yeah, we'll definitely go back, because
we'll get because that's gonna be part of this podcast. Is Jim reviewing the German.
That is the one thing that will trigger me is mispronounced German things.
And we know Japan, no matter, not even just Eva, Japan just loves German.
They love to insert German words into things, and German culture.
It's so funny. They just fell in love with that. Like that.
It's very weird.
It's like German, then like French. It's probably German, English,
I would say
French.
English above German, just because you hear English in like everything.
English, German, French, and then like Spanish is surprisingly very low.
Yeah, you never really see.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Which is always surprised when you see like Spanish speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Which you do hear. It was so. I remember. I forget which Sentai series, but they would because like when you put stuff in like the morpher in the one Sentai series, it would just say. It would say like wherever the power up is. And I remember like they would say like mucho, like very fun. It'd be very funny. Like I think in Go Buster it was like it's a morphin time. Oh god, it was so funny. Just like them just like yelling out like English or even like mucho. Like
mucho is very funny. That's hilarious.
God, it's one of the Dino series.
But yes, I love anime.
But
and
manga. And gaming.
And gaming.
You gotta stop referencing Sakura Khan.
Gilgamesh. So now we actually the Eva is found. Interestingly, this one is a fetus. It's an egg.
I think it's like the coolest thing to find, like a developing angel.
Yeah.
And it's number 8, right?
This would be number 8. Let me look the name up. Interestingly too, they have a whole discussion about what to do.
And like, is it in a volcano? Like in like the magma of a volcano?
Yes. So that's where this thing is. I guess you could say it's incubating there.
I forget what the mountain is named, but essentially it's like literally in a volcano. Like, we gotta dive. We gotta deep dive. I think this episode is when we see the because they're prepping to get ready. That's when we had the thing with Ray saying, like, if Asuka doesn't want to do it, because you want to go scuba diving or diving, Asuka. Like, Asuka's like, this is dangerous. Like, Ray's like, I'll do it. And be like, Asuka's like, fuck you, I'm doing it. And we guess we kind of had that little butt head. We do see the I guess the job squad, or like the people that run or keep an eye on all the stats and everything. They kind of dig off duty kind of stuff. Where like one of them is playing, like, pretending to play guitar or air guitar. One of them's like reading. And like, also nice little thing to see what their characters are like when they're not just doing their job.
Yeah, it's like the perfect amount of, okay, this person's human.
We did tell character without like shoving it in your face, just telling you.
Yeah, we just get like a quick little montage. Okay, yeah, it's nice that these characters, because we hear them narrate
they are people out of their job.
Yeah, which I like that. I think in the last episode too, we see Asuka. No, we don't. We see Misato and Ritsuko in like a sort of like bar or something. It's interesting. It looks like it might be on like Nerve property. I just really enjoy...
Like the Star Trek ship has like the bar there, so it's like Eva has like a bar on base.
Yeah, I really just enjoy seeing stuff like that. I can't find the frickin' name of this angel. Whatever. It's not really...
The fetus.
The fetus.
The baby.
But
then we get probably the funniest, like, weirdest stuff like that goes in there, because I think they had to get the Eva. Not only does the pilot have to wear like a special, like a diving suit, but where Asuka's like inflated hilariously, like a totally spies fetishy like inflation episode.
It's very dumb.
The Eva suit needs a suit as well. Where, I mean, you told me like while we were like kind of recapping the episode beforehand about like why, if it has an AT field, I guess it doesn't work when you go under pressure, or like the AT field just doesn't work there.
It's stupid. I feel like it shouldn't need to have the. And we even see Shinji at the end goes to save Asuka with no protection.
She was high enough to just grab him before the pressure would kill him, I guess.
It's dumb. It's just stupid. Also, I know that like water, when you like go up from water, you can get like decompression sickness.
Yeah, the bends.
Yeah. Does that exist with lava? Like,
I feel like it doesn't matter what the liquid is, I guess. I assume it's just a pressure thing in general.
Because you would still be increasing the atmosphere as a pressure.
Yeah, because I don't think the liquid really matters as much. It just depends on how. But she probably should be decompressing, unless the suit's protecting her from the bend, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just not.
But but you get this red filter, this red like lava water, which kind of. So this is like I this thinking, because there's a Eva came out in what year?
95.
Okay, and because it's just not really magma. It's just more like red water in this as well. Where
you can see through it.
There's a level in Donkey Kong Country 2 where the water is this red lava water, where like if you touch it, you just like die. You have to keep it like. We're like, oh wow, this is like really funny. Just like red lava water.
It is just red water.
And you get this ugly red filter throughout this entire episode. Asuka slowly descends. It's 90% of the episode just it descending. It's on a crane, so I guess the wire doesn't destroy itself really as much.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
until the angel comes and hits it a little bit. But like, yeah, she's just descending. She has a small knife, and then the fetus becomes a stingray.
It's interesting. It kind of has like, so I'm showing Sam a picture. It's called Sandalphon.
It's so stupid looking.
It kind of has like the thing that what are they called? Like flounders have, where both their eyes are like in the same spot.
It's like a flounder stingray.
Yeah. So I had mentioned this before with the Asuka Strikes episode with the big shark or whale angel. When I first watched Eva, I watched like, because there was no way to like legally watch it, so I watched like rips of like probably the old DVD. And it was really hard to see anything underground because the quality was not very good.
If it was a bright lighting, it doesn't help with the pixels.
Yeah, the old version of this fight was like impossible to decipher. I'd never actually really seen what the angel looked like until like we watched it this time.
And how do you feel about it now?
I mean, I still don't like the whole red filter thing. I think like
also she's like she not like the she has to be like stationary. She can't move around for this fight. She has to get lucky and like try to find a place to stab it, which luckily she does. But
I think like so many aspects of this episode are just not really fun. Like going back to the whole Ramail episode when they harness all of the power of Japan into one sniper.
It's so cool.
It's so cool, and also, it's very like they take like a very realistic approach with how it works, and all the build-up's very realistic. With this, there's also kind of that realism of like, okay, well, we need to have a big winch or wench for her to go down, and it's not as fun.
Their plan is to capture it.
Yeah, that's also an important detail.
But it didn't get captured at all.
It immediately breaks out,
and she has to like stab it with. They think like, okay, we only gave you I forget what the knife is called again.
Progressive knife.
Progressive knife. That's the only thing they gave her, and she like loses it like immediately. Like Shinji literally just dropped you his knife that'll be there. Where the hell is the knife? Like, bitch, you have long enough for you to descend. Yeah,
it has to fall through lava.
I know you're in a rush, but maybe they should have gave her something other than just one knife. Maybe just one backup knife.
Yeah, and I think like it doesn't really do anything interesting with lava that wouldn't have just been water. Like,
yeah,
I really don't understand why it had to be lava, or sorry, magma. Technically, is magma.
But yeah, so basically she has to descend back up. The pressure's cracking in it because there's like a rip in it, and like one of the tubes, I think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I guess pressure isn't an issue in this, and she starts.
It cracks a little bit, and then just stops, and then Shinji rescues her, and that's the end. Really, the end.
Yeah, it's not really, as I said, like it's hard to kind of tell what's happening. There's not a lot of like agency that Asuka has. Shinji kind of saves her, like from dying, which is whatever.
Sure.
But the fun part is the ending when they go to a hot spring.
Yeah, Pen gets delivered via mail.
Kaji actually ships him too.
Animal cruelty. He also loves animal cruelty.
Yeah, and he's fine.
No holes poked in there because he's literally gasping for breath when he comes out.
But yeah, he gets there, and then
they go to the hot spring.
Him and Shinji are boys, so they have to go to the boy section, and then Misato and Asuka are girls. They go to the girl section.
They're like, "Hey, Shinji, throw over your body wash. We're all out over there." We're just like, that is some poor like hot spring like management. Are just like, yeah, we just don't have we're out of bottles. They're like, okay, maybe the thing is like they should go to front desk and get more bottles. Nope, Shinji, throw it over here.
They're naked. They can't.
We gotta see Shinji's crotch pelvis. And then I think, whoa, I can't believe you hit me there. And Shinji gets a fucking massive boner. And
because then Asuka says something like, oh, don't touch me there, it tickles. It's like classic stupid, like,
what does
rolling my eyes.
Does Shinji say, like, whoa, I can't believe it's expanding?
Yeah, he says...
Because the joke, I guess, like, about the thermal expansion.
Yeah, it's the final joke. It's they
I
say
was in the
rule
pool.
of threes.
I was in the pool.
Yeah,
should have done the Seinfeld joke instead.
Where he gets shrinkage.
Yeah, he gets shrinkage.
We didn't even mention that's how they beat the angel is with thermal expansion.
Yeah.
They Shinji like uses the hyper cooled fluid to like crush it from the inside. Whatever, I don't care. But yeah, and then this is the third. It's the rule of threes. Haha. End on joke. Shinji gets a boner because he hears the girls talking.
Yeah, sure.
And then he's like, I guess I expanded. Then Pen pecks his dick off.
Sure.
Then the scene I actually like, it cuts over to Misato and
Ray.
Asuka.
Ray's probably in the corner. I can believe Ray's in the corner.
Ray's just sitting in the bathroom.
Ray's there in the corner. She's there as a spot.
Yeah. And we see Misato has a huge scar across her chest
that she says she got from the second impact.
Yeah.
So
also, yeah, we see underboob. We see Misato underboob.
Great. That's a real fan service we want.
It was a real fan service moment. And
certified fan service moment.
And was that a big lip alligator moment reference?
No, the certified hood classic.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of
damn son,
critic.
where'd you find that?
Yeah. But yeah, and then they kind of have a nice little brief discussion about like Asuka's like, so you know everything about me, and she's like, yeah, of course I do.
Oh, in your file.
Job. Yeah. And it just kind of shows like Misato kind of beginning to connect to Asuka, and she's like a counter to Kaji, like actually shows interest in her. Cares about her backstory.
Her backstory.
I kept trying to say past and backstory. This is not a good day.
That are probably related to her mom and most likely daddy issues. Everybody has parent issues in this show.
It's true.
So
it's a prerequisite.
Yes. And with that, yeah. that's the end of the episode, and we're on gonna be on to bigger and better things after Magma Dive. We had a very high and a very low episode.
Yeah, I forget the next one. I hope it's the one I'm thinking of, because
we no mention of the the atom thing that we found.
Yeah, not yet. Okay, so the next one is not bad.
Another 2.
Yeah, we'll do another 2, I think.
Yeah, no mention of the cliffhanger or like the little tease of the atom or the
Adam, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was just called Adam, or was something of Adam?
They just called it Adam, yeah.
Okay.
Which was like a little weird fetus, which similarly looked kind of like the angel embryo.
Yes.
Also, I think it goes without saying, but the angel embryo did look like a human embryo.
Yeah.
It even had the little vestigial tail that human embryos have.
It just changes rapidly into something, a creature.
Yeah, a big, stupid jellyfish.
A flounder.
But yeah, okay, so the next 2 episodes, one is good, and then one is one of my favorites. So I'm very excited.
So it must be a Ray episode.
Ray's in it.
You can say that about most episodes of this.
You point to the screen, Gary, look, it's me.
Look at her.
She's in it for like 1 second.
She should see her foot. So yeah, I think I definitely enjoyed that first episode a lot more. It very much felt like a good Ava episode, where this one felt like a filler.
I hate when you say that, because it's not filler.
I know it's not filler, but it felt like a Monster of the Week filler episode.
I think a lot of people have kind of complained that it really doesn't feel like Ava. Like it feels like a little bit like less. Like Ava has like a real like, I don't know, like I don't want to say edge, because that's not what I mean. But Ava normally has a lot more bite than this episode.
Kind of because like the little like thing of, okay, this is why a bunch of characters aren't here. Where it could be thrown to any like Monster of the Week or filler episode, and then you have the hot spring, which could literally be implemented in a lot of end of any episode, really. Like any mission complete that could be thrown in there.
I think,
and like the whole
reliance on tropes is what drops this episode down.
That and the whole like, oh, what are you studying? Oh, thermal expansion. Oh, wow. I hope that comes into play later on, and it just conveniently does.
That's a bad one. That is like literally
it's
like
so on the nose.
Yeah,
so
that's like a 6-year-old TV
it's
show.
Chekhov's thermal expansion.
Basically,
like it. We're like
it's Chekhov's gun, but he points at the gun and talks about it every 5 minutes.
Yes, and at least the episode before, we're like, okay, the way to win is syncing. So the conflict is you guys have to learn to get synced up, and like that's not Chekhov's gun, because that's something implemented. Like this is the way to win, and then we see him via montage and via like everything beforehand learning that.
It's a good character building.
Yes.
It's like it's just it's great. It's a really good like confluence of action, character building, and storytelling that is where Ava shines.
And then we get Asuka's inflated.
Yeah, this whole episode just feels like a joke.
If she's walking with the inflated suit on, I just need a tuba behind her playing like womp womp womp.
It's just,
womp, womp,
I know we live in a year where inflation is like very well known as a fetish.
Yeah.
And at this time, like you would see that, like in the 90s, in 1995, people would see this and they wouldn't immediately think, oh, the person drawing this had a fetish for inflated Asuka. They would just think, it's kind of funny that Asuka's like embarrassed about how fat she looks in this. But with my modern eyes, I look at it and I'm just like, these perverts, these fucking perverts drawing Asuka, we're getting off to her being a big freaking blueberry. Like, but they saw that, but they watched that Willy Wonka scene a few times in preparation for it.
let's see. Of course, it's Totally Spies, famous for fetish. God.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell my kids this is Asuka.
Yeah. So it's just all these it's weird fetish shit. I'm sorry.
It is.
But other than that, I mean, Magma Diver's okay. I love the synchro episode, whatever you want to call it. Fight like your body means it. I can't remember what it's called.
I think what I said that one time, where like the one episode was like an illusion of filler, where you think it's going to be, but it does, or it leaves that slightly like stereotypical. Oh yeah, this is gonna be like the backbones of filler, but it's very good and very important. Where this one just like we just have the filler episode. It feels like with some important stuff like at the very end, but like other than that, it's just like. Yeah, it had the bullet points of what a filler episode from like a lot of shows would just have.
I would say you could almost entirely remove this episode.
Yes, and
you wouldn't really be missing.
Like I said, the hot spring thing could really feel like it could be implemented in the end of any episode beforehand. Of just like, okay, mission well done. This is kind of our mini break since everybody's also is like not there. We can just do it because no one works at this hot spring.
I guess you could say that it's more like Shinji Asuka development, but I don't really care enough about. We're kind of in a different era of Ava right now, where era is not the right word, but this section of Ava kind of is like the Monster of the Week section, which a lot of people find the most enjoyable.
Yeah, I know it changes, like the whole like show like changes at a certain point where like I feel like Ano just like, fuck it, I'm going off the wall with this now.
Yeah, there's a lot of
but like that stuff's been teased already though, like the Atom, like the obviously biblical stuff that's like coming into a play more.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories about this, and also Karikano was another series Ano did before this, or I think before this, where people think that Ano would just like quit on series and come back because like his name wasn't in the credits or something. With Karikano, that was like literally a misunderstanding. People think, because the show kind of gets bad after a bit, people think Ano just left, but that's not really true. People also think that, I think around episode 13, Ano left for a bit and came back, but I
break for an episode or two or something.
Yeah, I think that's what they believe, because there's a bit of a dip. But
that's why they have guest directors on certain episodes. Like I remember watching Dororo. There was like an episode where they got the guy who did the Hot Spring episode from Gurren Lagann, and it was like a dip in good quality in the term of animation and like the story itself, and it just like you could tell that's like, okay, the guy who mainly doing this was not there. He must have took a episode to break because Japan culture, they need the break somehow.
Yeah, I'm just not really sure the validity of it, because it's one of those things like internet rumors propagate so much.
Oh yeah, especially back then where like you don't know what's going on in like the 90s animation
things
studio.
Weren't documented as easily as they are now. It's kind of like how everyone, like a lot of people, an embarrassing amount of people think that Kentaro Miura, the writer of Berserk, like stopped writing Berserk to play Love Live games. Like
that's hilarious. I love that.
It's
legend,
not
though.
true.
Not
at
true,
all.
But I do love how hilarious that one is.
It's like
though.
Totally a mistranslation, and like if people just didn't, it was like a joke, and people didn't understand it.
And the thing is, like, it's not like America will get a lot of like details about like, or at least behind the scenes, maybe documentary or video about how it was made or whatever. Where Japan is more so like I think you don't get that a lot, and it's more so of like, oh, this is my inspiration about it's more about the story and characters more so than the animation process, or like
it's really interesting.
They want to know more about the story and character inspirations and ideas instead of they want to know, oh, how does this industry work? We love that little details here.
Yeah, and to me it seems like a lot of that is because it's promotional. Like, if you're promoting, for example, like the new Dragon Ball thing, you're going to be talking about the story. You're not going to be talking about the people working on it. You'll be like, oh, Goku has a new hyper form and Vegeta has no eyebrows. Like, they would talk about that kind of stuff.
What's your
they wouldn't talk
Ultra
about, like,
Ego? Why you want no eyebrows on Vegeta now?
But, yeah, like, I think, especially a lot of, like, the YouTube anime community, or, like, that had kind of spawned in the past decade,
that's why, like,
was really into that kind of, like, but behind the scenes. Another thing too, what's the podcast Trash Taste? They had on one of the guys that worked on like a bunch of shit. I think he worked on like some Trigger shows. But he was basically like a a contracted animator. And I think he worked on One Punch Man. That was one of the big ones he worked on.
Season 1 or season 2?
Season 1.
Okay, good.
But they were talking and they were like, so do you like have to sign any NDAs or anything? And he's like, no. Like, you basically just don't talk about it, because if you did talk about it publicly, you'd get blacklisted. So, because like, there's a few people. Speaking of Trigger, Takafumi Hiyori, one of the like main Trigger animation directors, he would just post a lot of stuff on his own Twitter, and he worked on Steven Universe too as well, and he would post like his sketches and like some animatics of that.
That's why
it's cool to see that,
because Capcom got like a new like fighting game, like guys for the fighting game division, and like so they've been like, once they started getting power, they started releasing like some old sketches from their old fight from the 90s art, and it's really cool to see like concept art, or like maybe they had like a legendary artist that didn't get their art released of like Ryu or Chun-Li, and it's really cool. And it's kind of cool to get this like backstory of like them, like the origins of like all these characters and stuff. And I love to see that behind the scenes stuff of like just the art.
And like, people hate Twitter, and Twitter is horrible, but those things are perfect for Twitter.
Yeah,
Because,
that's what I said. That they started posting them on Twitter, and it's a really cool page to
I
see.
can't think of a better place to post something that, as you said, something that wasn't released. It's not substantial enough to be like shown on its own, but if it can just be dropped on like a post on Twitter.
Yeah,
I love seeing that kind of stuff.
like that very few thing that we've seen like Araki drawing
Yeah.
videos of him like actually drawing instead of like just talking about the inspiration of all the characters and references. Like I would just love to hear Araki talk about music or whatever, about like the musical inspiration more so than like, oh, what was your inspiration about making Jotaro so big and epic?
And he'd be like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
I do want to say though, there is a really fantastic series I must have recommended to you before. It's called Manben, and what's his name? The guy who did 20th Century Boys. I forget his name. It begins with an N. He did Monster. He's like one of the most like famous mangaka ever. He has a series where he basically meets with a different manga author every episode.
It's like comedians in cars getting coffee, but with manga.
But it's like a lot better.
How dare you?
But I've watched
Jerry
a few of the
Seinfeld's
episodes.
angry at you.
It doesn't go into it doesn't go into like any animation because it's mostly just manga.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating because he meets with the mangaka he's like doing a
video with.
Yeah, and he speaks with them and he shows them drawing and they talk about like their style and their impact.
Yeah, I would love like just to have a documentary of like following Araki like for like the month he does a chapter for like JoJo.
That would be really cool.
And just to see like the process he does, like the daily, like maybe just focus. Oh, I do like a page or two a day. This is my process. This is how I get into like the mode to start doing this. Like I would love to see like this for like. I can tell for like the weekly shonen stuff would be really hard to see that for because weekly, but like seeing like a monthly manga just go and like see their process and how they do it.
Yeah. Another manga, I must have mentioned this before as well, but another like series on YouTube, I can't remember the name of it, but basically it's a very well produced and edited like sort of documentary series where they meet with different creators. A lot of the guys are like really old, like they worked on like old JRPGs or like really like even current manga, but they did one on the guy who did Innocent, and Innocent Rouge, which is like a manga set in like the French Revolution.
I think I've heard of
era. It's a really incredible manga. I love it, but his the costuming is really important and like how the characters dress. It's very accurate, and there's like a mini documentary, maybe like 20 minutes, where you see the man work, and also he has his team of assistants, which is crazy because you always hear about the assistants, but they never are given like as much respect as they are in this video at least. And one woman is like just the character costume designer.
You have the character outfit, maybe you have someone for backgrounds.
Yeah. It's essentially that, and like it's really cool, especially the costumes because they're so important. She has like a whole wardrobe of like period accurate costumes that she tries on and models for herself.
Very much like costuming in like American like or Hollywood movies where they have to be like very like
there's like a whole meticulous like
knowledge how to sew them or put them together like it's really cool to see. You don't really see that for the manga field. It's really cool.
So I know like I feel like that was kind of like bold for them to do that because I know for most studios they don't really like say who the assistants are. Because they want to keep this like idea of like, oh no, JoJo's done by Araki, but I would love to see what Araki's assistants do.
Yeah,
I'm assuming they probably mostly do backgrounds, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they're taking over like shading or whatever.
I can see that,
like some posing.
Yeah, or just even just to see a tour of Araki's studio to see like, oh, does he just have a bunch of like fashion magazines just like?
Well, we have seen that. What's her face, Shoko. Shokotan or whatever.
But that was like I want to see like what it looks like now though, like the modern like layout for his collection, because like that was probably what like early mid 2000s for that one.
I think Steel Ball Run was still coming out, so it was like 2009.
Yeah, early probably because that was like
there was a more recent one. It's the one where he paints the big JoJo image with all the JoJo characters. That was a more recent one of his studio.
I think we also saw like a little bit of his like CD collection, but I just want to see like his entire room just dedicated to like
it seems like he works in kind of like an office room. Like the one that I remember seeing recently was the one where he does the JoJo painting, and it is just kind of like an office room. It's like a few cubicles where his assistants probably work at as well.
So cool. I don't know. We like these like little behind the scenes stuff. Like people love that stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's something
like people like seeing the behind the scenes on like DVDs. That's why like one of the biggest selling cases of DVDs back in the day was just like the behind the scenes stuff and like.
Yeah, give me an Evangelion Criterion Collection release. I'll fucking buy it.
But anything else? We kind of got.
No, we're not talking about Ava anymore. People have already stopped listening.
Probably.
Tune in next time for Dragon Ball Z.
Episode 11 and 12?
We're talking about episode 11 and 12. Episode 11 and 12.
But, yeah.
Right.
But see you next time, then.
Good. Oh, wait, do you want to plug?
Oh, fuck. I gotta plug. What were you plugging?
Just do it really quick.
What were you plugging?
Because
we
what do you... Oh, plug the magma hole.
The magma hole? All right, Jim. I'll do that. Thank you all for listening this far. Again, do all the YouTube stuff, which is like, comment, subscribe, and all those little thingies. You can also follow the podcast on our Twitter or via Jim separately, and you can also join our Discord. And I think that's all, right?
Yes.
All right, and with that, we will see you next time on, I guess, the Eva cast.
Eva cast.
I guess that's the name we're going.
I couldn't think of a funny one. I'm sorry. These are all recorded before they start releasing, so
yeah.
People might have better names. Maybe I'll change the name halfway through. We'll see.
Can't be Joe Ska.
It's true. It's funny because I had a moment where I was like, oh, I wanted to check the comments. I was like, wait. We still have not released a single episode of this yet. So one day.
Because we're waiting.
Yeah, waiting.
We're waiting for the right time.
Yeah, we're recording this in July of 2021. Hopefully nothing bad has happened.
The very, very end of July.
I just said 2021. You didn't even notice.
I didn't.
All right. Well, thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.